Zana, sound check. Sounds clear or not?
Clear.
Okay, good. PowerPoint nampak?
Semua. Okay. Tip top.
Alright. Okay, good. Kita akan mulakan sesi pada petang ini. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan selamat petang. Selamat sejahtera kepada semua. Selamat datang ke webinar series yang dianjurkan oleh Center for Development of Academic Excellence atau Pusat Pembangunan Kecemerlangan Akademik. Saya Abdul Karim Alias, pengarah CDAE, Universiti Sains Malaysia. So I would like to wish a warm welcome to all of you from USM, and we also open this to the public. So we have also participants from other universities. As usual, the webinar protocol, please mute your microphone so that there's no disturbance and disruption, but feel free to unmute if you want to ask any questions. All right, so this webinar is a new round of webinar series organized by CDAE, and this is mainly for our USM academic staff, but we also share and open this to the public. And since we just start our new semester, so I suppose all of you, some of you probably have started your first class today. I have also my class this morning. And it seems that we have to continue class online. So maybe it's good to look at some aspects of how we can run and conduct the online class and design, prepare for our teaching and design our online session in such a way that we will make it, we will facilitate learning and will make it as interesting as possible for our students. Okay. So the title is Good Practices for Teaching Online. I think the original title was 10 Good Practices for Teaching Online. So I don't want to limit to 10. So I have added a few more, and let's see how much we can go through, we can cover. Meanwhile, if you have any question, feel free to ask, and I will show you shortly where you can post your questions. For your information, all the slides and all the resources that I'm going to share in this presentation, in this session, will be given to you, will be shared with you. So I will give you the link to all the resources, including the PowerPoints and something else that I want to share. I will give you the link to download at the end of the slide presentation here. So now, let's start with this. I want to share with you this picture. What is this? Any idea? Can you type in the chat box what you see the old man is holding? Not the old man, but what the old man is holding. Can you type some in the chat box? Okay. Wow, bulan. Wow, bulan. Wow. Okay. An old man is holding a wow bulan. Right. Anything other than anything else other than wow? What you see here? Wow dan benang wow-nya. He's wearing batik, left hand holding the rope. Seni. Seni. Okay. Kita? Okay. I don't know what do you mean by kita? Culture. Okay. But actually, I'm referring to the object that the old man is holding. So it seems that most of you know what is this. Which basically, wow. Okay, wow bulan, right? Do you know how the Mat Saleh pronounce this? Any idea, Mat Saleh? How Mat Saleh pronounce wow? Any idea? So you can type in the chat box. how do we pronounce? Whoa. 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 Wow. Okay. Very clever. Very clever participants that I have here. Yeah. Wow. Wow, I can hear the sounds of clicking apa ni sudu dalam mangkuk ke apa ke. So please mute your microphone, please. Wow. Okay, wow. So what do you think? Why I'm asking these questions? What's the relevant with our session this afternoon? Anyone? Prof. Zubir, what do you think? Why I'm asking this thing? To gain attention. Okay, to gain attention. That's good. Anyone else? Find wow factor. Okay. Deep impact. Siapa tadi find? Okay. For how to wow our students, engage the participant. Anything else? Lead in activity. Fine. Deep impression, gain attention, encourage thinking. Okay, that's good. That's good. I just added these two slides, just a few minutes, just a few minutes before I start the presentation here. I just get idea just now because during lunch time I shared a picture of wow in our CDAE group. Then suddenly I got an idea. Okay, maybe something that I want to share here. Yeah, that's good. It could be ice breaking, how to attract attention, and so on. But someone mentioned about how to wow our student. Yes, that's basically my point. Of course, other points that you say to gain attention, everything are also correct. This is basically the gist of my sharing why we are talking about good practices for online, for teaching online. How do we strive to wow our students? And it is also true whether we do this online or face-to-face, but especially online, because I don't see you, I don't feel you, but I know you are there. So I must find creative ways to ensure that you will stick to the screen and participate in the session or in the learning process. Thank you very much for your active participation. Wow. Okay. Wow. Now, basically, there are two things I want to touch on in this session. We talk about online teaching or teaching online, getting to online and teach. Shifting from face-to-face to online is not an easy feat. But we have started in March during PKP, so I assume and I anticipate less problem or less issues this time. But still, there are so much we need to learn. We are still on the learning curve. For some people, they are already there in the learning curve. For other people, they are still there. For some people, they are already up there. Okay, so I want to talk about the theoretical framework for effective online learning. Don't worry, it sounds very boring, very dry, theoretical framework, but I will approach this from very practical point of view, from practitioner point of view. Then, of course, the rest of the presentation, I'll be sharing some of the ideas from my own, from my perspective, what I think would be the good practices, if not the best practices, some of the best practices that we can use and apply when we design our course for online delivery. Okay. Along the way during this session, feel free to ask me any questions. But rather than typing the chat box, because it can get lost very easily, I have to scroll down to find which one is question, which one is just a comment. So please use this Mentimeter. I'm sure most of you are familiar. Ask me anything. So go to Mentimeter. So maybe you want to take a picture or write down the code 558725 and feel free, yeah? Feel free to ask any questions. Oh yeah, thank you, Anusha. I forgot to quit WhatsApp. Thank you. So one of the good practice is to turn off all your WhatsApp and anything that can give notification is very disturbing. Thank you, Anusha, for uh, reminding me. Code not found. 558725. Can let me check. 5587255. 255. Oh, 255. Oh, uh, so bad practice. Check your. Okay, that's a code. Okay, see, I make mistakes. That's the code, yeah? All right, 55. Oh, okay. So there you go, 5587255. Thank you very much. That's example of what not to do. Sengaja atau sengaja. Okay. Okay. I'm giving away some gift for you because I would like to thank you for joining the session. So the first one, FOC, of course, I'm giving you one comprehensive online course that I've designed, transforming your class into an online course. Okay. And of course, if you want to access this course, wait until the last slide. I will give you the link to this course. Okay. Transforming your class into an online course. You can do it. You can go through it in your own time. There's another course. This is actually our MOOC, Massive Open Online Course, and I strongly encourage you to spend some time to enroll in this course and go through. It's very, very comprehensive. If you want to learn more how to engage online learners, yeah, the theoretical part as well as the practical part, and the tools or the tricks and the tricks of the trade, yeah, so to speak. And I will give also the link in the last slide. Another one which I've just created, and this is designed or is meant to be one-stop resource center for educators, especially those who just embark on online teaching. Probably, you're still trying to learn a lot of things, the tools, the strategies, the approach, how you want to design, what tools to use, how to record a video, how to do this, how to do that. So I prepared this one. Oops. I prepared this one-stop resource center, and it's still a work in progress. I will continue to update from time to time, but as it is now, you can use to learn anything that you want to learn about getting online. Okay, and I will give also the link on the last slide. And I would like to recommend 2 books. And I think probably if you join my webinar on Friday, I have mentioned this, and even previously I have mentioned this book, How Learning Works, 7 Research Principles for Smart Teaching. And I'll be mentioning some of the principles in this presentation. And these are the book, the fundamental principles behind effective adult learning programs. Why this book is recommended? Because together with this book, you want to learn as much as possible about adult learning principles and apply that in your course design, whether it's face-to-face or online course. Okay. So what's in this book? There are 7 principles, as you can see here. The first one, how does students' prior knowledge affect their learning? How does the way students organize knowledge affect their learning? Principle number 3, what factors motivate students to learn? How do students develop mastery? what kinds of practice and feedback enhance learning, why do student development and course climate matter for student learning, and number 7, how do students become self-directed learners. So these are the 7 principles which are based on research, based on a lot of research. So if you want to design your course online or face-to-face based on the understanding of the theory and translate that into practice, this book would be one of my favorite book of all time. Yeah, I'm still referring to this book. As you can see here, I always have it in front of me here, How Learning Works. Now, before I talk about some of the best practice, let me start with some guiding principles. The first one, in order to teach online, to qualify yourself to teach online and to be competent to teach online, you need some experience as a learner. So first, if you have not joined any online course, not even one course online in the form of MOOC or other type of online course, I would strongly advise you to find any free course, any MOOCs available on Coursera, on USM MOOC, and many places. Join as a student, spend some time to go through the course because you want to experience on the student side. How is it like? How the experience like to be a student? So that now when you start to prepare and design your course for teaching online, you understand how the students feel because you have experienced that process, you have gone through the process. So I would like to advise you, start with be a learner in online courses. I would like to share one post by Mr. Nazrin Wahab. Mr. Nazrin Wahab is professional learning facilitator or PLF, yeah, and he's doing coaching and so on. I would strongly recommend you to join, to follow Mr. Nazrin on his Facebook and to join his program, yeah. So he wrote this. Let me read this one, yeah. How I run my virtual classes. How do I become a better virtual teacher? The best way to learn is to attend a lot of online classes, sign up for a lot of MOOCs, and just experience various delivery styles as a participant. This is to me a very good advice. So that's why I capture this and share with you. Sometimes as facilitators, teachers, lecturers, trainers, and coaches, we are blind to the learning experience because we are not on the receiving end. So that's why we must be on the receiving end as a learner first, as a student, so that we understand that experience. Then we can design our course appropriately to wow the students, yeah, to wow the students. A good leader is also a good follower. Likewise, a good teacher is also a good student. Fortunately, there are many free courses, webinars, and classes being offered now. This is a fantastic opportunity to learn from the best and how they conduct their engagements online. Pick up best practices and learn new tools to incorporate into your repertoire. Soon enough, you will create a solid teacher brand for yourself that will attract people to learn from you, see you online. So I take time to read this whole post here because I think every line here is really very meaningful and very important for us to understand. Okay, before I move on, once again, please mute your microphone, please. Right? Okay. Now, ada echo. Why? Unexpected problem.
Saya dah mute dah Prof, tapi Dr. Azharuddin boleh tolong mute sendiri tak?
Dr. Azharuddin, can you please mute your microphone? Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Now, there's another post from my friend, Dr. Nur Hamimi Zainuddin. Key characteristics of expert and novice online instructors. Let's see. If you are novice, these are some of the characteristics. But we want to be the expert. Okay. I understand that some of you are still on the learning curve, but ultimately we want to be the expert online instructors and feel very comfortable teaching online. Okay, that's the idea. We want to feel comfortable teaching online and practice good practices. Yeah. So expert instructors, they know what works in the online format, the do's and the don'ts, possess a wide range of strategies, so a wide range of repertoire. They have a toolbox with many tools, many strategies. They can just like a magician, they can pull up the rabbit from the hat, so to speak. So you want to start building your toolbox, but don't put all the tools there. Only selected tools that can you want to use in a very purposeful and impactful way as part of your course design to create that magic in your course. Have confidence in online teaching. Well, I understand also some people, they have been doing face-to-face teaching for a long time, and they are just embarking on online, so they don't have that confidence. But slowly, by practice, going through the process, we can gain more confidence, getting the feedback from the students and act on the feedback, reflect on what we have done in the previous classes, and learn from there and level up. Yeah, are able to identify problems and know how to solve the problems. Are not limited by technology. So don't confine our online teaching with technology, because technology is there to facilitate and to help us. But don't be constrained by technology. There are many ways to go around any issues or problems that you might face. Know how to adapt materials for online format, choose content and activities carefully, constantly monitor, tweak, and evaluate the course. So all the bullet points here, the characteristic of expert instructors, actually also the so-called good practices, some of the good practices that we need to learn, to acquire, to learn, and to master. Okay, let's start. Okay, we are still talking about some guiding principles here. Yeah, I'm not talking about the best practice or good practice yet. I'm talking about the general guiding principle. So I want to draw your attention to principle number 7 in this book, which is about the student. Yeah, how do students become self-directed learners? Why do I start with this one? Because we should always start with the focus on the student. And we tend to forget that the students now are at home, they are everywhere. Some of them are probably still struggling to get connected online, let alone to learn online. To get connected is one issue. To learn online is another issue. Okay, so in other words, students should be more independent now. They should be more self-directed, and therefore, one of the guiding principles that I always reiterate is about don't focus too much on covering the syllabus, but let's design the activities as part of the online session that allow the students to uncover the content. So that kind of mindset, a flip kind of concept from the normal traditional mindset of we as lecturers need to cover the syllabus from A to Z. And be mindful also about cognitive overload, because sometimes we get too excited, and I'm telling myself also, because I also easily get excited and tend to give a lot to the students. So I'm also guilty of doing this cognitive overload. So be mindful let's always remind ourselves whether we are giving too much to the extent that the students will, overwhelm. So we want learners to be more independent. Okay, so we have to tell the student and discuss with the students, make them understand first at the very beginning before you go, into the semester. Like this morning, I have my class with my students. So these are the things that I remind my students. I want them to be more independent now, be a so-called a self-directed learner. Okay, so ask them to read about self-directed learner or tell them how you want to be a self-directed learner and why is it important for you now to be self-directed learner. So it's actually a process in which learners take responsibility in understanding their learning needs, establishing their learning goals, and implementing learning strategies and evaluation. So they think about how they learn, they think about their own capability, they think about how, what type of learners, what is their learning preference, their own learning, learning style, so to speak, so we want them to be more independent and more proactive as well. Self-regulated learning is about the students become actually more proactive. They are independent and also proactive. They don't wait for the teacher to ask them to do something. If the teacher asks the student to do one thing, they will do, 3 or 4 things. They will do more because they are proactive. So students can be described as self-regulated to the degree that they are metacognitively, motivationally, and behaviorally active participants in their own learning process. So these are the 2 things, as part of the guiding principles. We must make our students understand so that tell them to be more independent, more self-directed, and more self-regulated. And another thing, teaching online is different from teaching face-to-face. So we cannot simply do what we do in face-to-face and try to replicate that in online environment. So we need to rethink our instructional strategy, and we need to be more creative. More creative. So how creative are you? This is time. This is the time now to unleash your creativity in when you design and deliver your online teaching. Okay. So remember, avoid cognitive overload. And another guiding principle here is, less is more. We try to do, not to overload our students. So try to design it in such a way, using the principle of less is more. Okay, but sometimes when more is desirable. So we need to kind of, from the experience, we need to learn when we need to deliver less, but the students still get more, and when we need to give more because of some requirement in terms of the learning outcome for that particular part, for that particular topic. Maybe more is desirable. So we need to use our own judgment. And this is not something that a textbook kind of thing that you can acquire overnight. This through experience and trial and error. And inevitably, when we do online, we need to use technology. So don't be afraid of technology. If you feel that you are not comfortable using technology, you need to learn. It's not that difficult. It's not rocket science. You can start to learn new tools, new get familiar with new ways of delivering face-to-face into online teaching. So if you use technology, keep in mind there are 4 levels how you use technology. The basic level up to the advanced level. The advanced level is where you use technology to redefine basically you redefine the whole strategy from what you do in face-to-face. But when you use technology, that technology that you use would allow for the creation of new tasks previously inconceivable, meaning that in the face-to-face, we cannot really do that kind of activity, but in online, using appropriate technology, you can do that, meaning that you redefine the whole thing. So I don't want to dwell too much on this because the focus is actually to look at some best good practices. But this model is called Sema Model. Basically, how to use the different level of how we use technology to give impact to our to students' learning. So I would encourage you to read more, about Sema Model, but try to aim slowly to move from substitution, move up to augmentation, to modification, and finally to redefinition. But if you are still new to online, probably in between substitution and augmentation. But later on, when you get more and more familiar, then you will want to move on to the next level, which is modification and redefinition. So feel free to read more on this, and I again strongly recommend you to spend some time to study about Sema Model and see how you can grow professionally in terms of using technology in best possible way, in the most impactful way. So learn to integrate technology purposefully and effectively, not using technology blindly. Okay, don't use technology blindly because you won't get the impact that you want, and maybe the students also would not appreciate. Okay, so learn to use and integrate technology in such a way that it becomes seamless. The students don't feel that you are using technology. Okay. Now, the second kind of guiding principles, if you are new to online learning, you want to change your mindset. Always have a growth mindset because you want to learn a lot of new things. Don't keep telling yourself that you are not tech savvy, because if you keep telling yourself not tech savvy, you will stuck at that level only. Okay, but you have the growth mindset. You always want to learn new things, new tools, new strategies. Second one is skill set. You need to acquire new skill set if you want to teach online successfully and comfortably. Okay? Do it slowly. Start small. Acquire a small skill set, then slowly expand that. Yeah, and this skill set come in the form of the strategies that you can use. Problem-based, scenario-based learning. You can use a lot of different type of student engagement for cognitive engagement, blah blah blah. A lot. Another thing is the tool set, skill set, including the tool set, and so the tools and the strategies put together in your toolbox. Okay, so you need a skill set in the form of pedagogy, andragogy, knowledge on pedagogical content knowledge, tool and tricks of the trade, and then practice. Okay, and then practice. Practice. Go for progress, don't go for perfection. Okay. Actually, I'm telling myself also because sometimes I spend too much on my slides and I cannot complete my work. All right. So make it effortless, because after you have mastered a certain technique and certain tool, you can prepare your teaching at the 11th hour and still deliver the best learning experience for the students. All right. So at this point, sorry, the code again is 5587255. 255. Let me quickly jump and see whether there's any questions. Okay, there are 5 questions. Let me. Send. Okay, I will take a few questions. Okay, pacing when we have both good and poor students. What is the question? Pacing when we have both good and poor student. Yeah, this is more like a statement. But yes, maybe I think what this statement or says here, we have to pace our speed, yeah, pace ourselves so that we take care uh, those good students and poor students because they probably move at different rate. Some of them probably, the moment they can understand very fast. Some students probably still struggling. So we need to pace accordingly. And there are many ways to give us some information whether all the students get it or not. Meaning that they are moving now at the same speed. Using some activities, for example, we give them a short 5 questions using Socrative. Then from there we can analyze very fast. Yeah. Okay. Take another question here. How to make 2 to 3 hours lectures during face-to-face to compact online lectures so that student will not feel boring? Well, in my webinar on Friday, I talk about how do we divide the 1 hour. Yeah, I'll talk about it. I have some slides later to talk about this. Yeah, how do we make it a 2 or 3 hours lectures not boring? Yeah, I will defer this question because I have some slide to address this question. Yeah. Okay. How to retain student attention? Again, we have to use the 10 minutes rule. Okay, the 10 minutes rule. So I'm trying to do this as much as possible during this presentation. So this is one way. So I just stop and look at some Q&A here. So we need the 10 minutes rule by John Medina. It says every 10 minutes, pause and do something. Okay, do something in the form of activities with the students. Okay, so in that way, we try to kind of reconnect with the students in case they fall asleep, so we can get them to do something. Yeah? How to retain student attention by embedding activities that get the students to do at certain interval during the session. Okay. So, okay, I'll jump back to the slides. Let's start with very briefly. I have 3 slides on this one. Looking from the big picture, the bird's eye view. Because if you want to really do well in your online teaching, you must have some model to follow. So this is what we call theoretical framework active online learning. I don't want to bore you with the technicalities. It's not that highly technical anyway. But the bottom line is we need to learn some theoretical framework so that we can build something that it can effectively support so-called social presence and community in the online environment. So the question is, how do we do that? Yeah? How do we get students to form the online community so that they can work together, they can play together, they can discuss together, they can interact, and the online community in that particular course become very vibrant community. Yeah. So this is what we call the framework of online community of inquiry, or COI, yeah? Community of inquiry. This is a theoretical framework that everyone who want to teach online, I think, wajib, compulsory to learn. Okay. So basically, online community of inquiry are a group of individuals who collaboratively engage in purposeful critical discourse and reflection to construct personal meaning and confirm mutual understanding. We must remember that online, we are separated by distance. Okay, so this is the best physical distancing. Okay, we know that the students are there, but we don't know what they are doing. We don't know whether they are reading the Facebook in another window and doing Instagram on another hand. We don't know. So the onus is on us to design the online session in such a way that they will engage with us constantly. And not only that, we want them to form a cohesive community. We want them to talk to each other. We want them to work together to solve a problem. Get them into a group and get them a few activities to solve. And this, of course, these activities are aligned with the learning outcome for that particular lesson. Get them to do, get them to talk, get them to think, get them to do things together. Okay, that's the bottom line. The principle, the main gist or intipati of community of inquiry framework. If you want to see the interactive version of it, this is the short address here. If you want to go open another window on your laptop, the short link here, http bit.ly and that one, because this diagram is designed as an interactive diagram. So you can learn about each item here. When you see this, all this thing, you can put your cursor there and something will pop up. There's a lot of information in this diagram, but it's hidden. Yeah, it's hidden through this hotspot here. But basically what I want to say here and draw your attention here, if you want to teach online, I repeat again, this is one theoretical framework that you must really understand. Maybe I will conduct another session just for this one, or I will invite someone to talk about this. My friend from UPSI probably can explain this one better than me. But basically, ultimately, at the end of the day, orang kata, apa yang kita nak student apa berlaku kepada student. We want all our students to get the best educational experience. And it is true also for face-to-face. Same thing also in online. We want them to get the best educational experience, the best learning experience. In order to get the best learning experience and educational experience, there are three elements. Bila kita design kita punya course online, for teaching online, ada tiga elemen. Elemen yang pertama dipanggil social presence, elemen yang kedua dipanggil cognitive presence, elemen yang ketiga dipanggil teaching presence. Okay, so social presence simply means we get the students to engage among them, so we have peer engagement. Students also can engage with us. We make ourselves we want the students to feel our presence in the online environment. They know that we are there, we are monitoring them, we are there to help them, to facilitate them. So we want to make the students feel your presence. So this is a social presence, okay? To set the climate of the online and supporting discourse in the course. The other one is called cognitive presence, which is perhaps the most crucial part, because this is where the student will engage with the course, with the content. We engage the students cognitively, engage the students emotionally, effectively. Yeah. So the cognitive engagement part is very important. And how do we design our course so that the students would apply their critical thinking and we can take them to the highest level in Bloom taxonomy. Okay, that's the cognitive presence. And finally, the teaching presence. How do we design the course in such a way to add the elements, the learning activities, everything designed so that we can achieve constructive alignment in our course. So that's very briefly that I want to explain about community of inquiry, which is, I think, the most popular model that we can use as a learning designer for our online course, for our teaching, for online teaching. Okay, and you can read further on this one. Yeah. So the cognitive presence, I just want to elaborate a little bit more on cognitive presence here because it's very crucial. So this basically we engage the students cognitively. the cognitive domain in the Bloom taxonomy, from the lots to the hots. Okay, so cognitive presence is basically the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse. But how do we achieve this? Through the learning activities that we will design for them. Okay, this is how we achieve construction of meaning, getting the students to construct their own learning, and create their own meaning. Cognitive presence also means we engage them to think critically. So they put their thinking hat and solve the problem, work on the problem, individual or in group. He or she goes through the process of constructing knowledge, inquiring, exploring, and thinking. So there is only one part in the community of inquiry, cognitive presence. When I talk about good practices, Andy, I will touch a little bit on social presence as well as on the teaching presence as well. Okay. Now, there's another model. Apart from the COI or community of inquiry, this is also my favorite model, Gilly Salmon's 5-stage model, which start from access and motivation. How do we design in our course the elements of motivation? Our online socialization is similar to the social presence in the community of inquiry, building sense of social presence on community, information exchange, peer sharing of learning resources, knowledge construction. So this is the cognitive part, cognitive presence in the community of inquiry just now. Knowledge construction, facilitating process, scaffolding students' learning, and finally development. How do we create a supportive learning community? So I will make sorry about that. So how do we create, as the course designer or as a learning designer, how do we create the learning community, which is part also of the social presence in the community of inquiry. Okay, please mute the microphone. Yeah, thank you very much. Check your microphone and please mute your microphone. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay, let me move on. Okay, so at this point, what does it take to develop good online course? Okay, very quickly before I move on, let's take one questions. Okay, how to retain student attention? I will cover that later. How to make Zoom lectures more student-centered for 100 plus class? Well, again, I'm going to touch on this also shortly. Basically, student-centered simply means, students, we put student at the center, literally. But then, on the practical part, we actually can get the students to really involve and participate in the learning process. And how to do this? Again, we need to design our 1 hour class, divide that into 70, 20, 10. Okay, I will say more about this because I have a slide on this one, related to these questions. So we divide into portions where we design some activities to engage the students. So basically, we get students to think, get them involved. Basically, that's how, we can do this even for 200 students in the group. Oops. Okay, what should we do if our students complaining that there are too much assignments? Well, first we have to judge whether is it really too much from our experience. So based on the student learning time and based on what has been stated very clearly in our course plan in the In USM, we call it BPK, everything. And within that student learning time, the SLT, everything. So we need to be, to make sure that we are not giving too much. And remember, I mentioned about cognitive overload. So everything that we do when we design the course, we work within that SLT, and we have to be able to estimate that whatever the students do, including the assessment and the assignment that we give them, is within that the scope of the SLT and the scope of the outcome of the course. Yeah. Okay. I'll jump back to my slides. So now, when we talk about good practices in online teaching and also in face-to-face, always start with the students in mind. Okay. Remember, we are dealing with adult students. That's why I mentioned earlier the books. Understand first about how students learn, how adult students learn. So start with your learners in mind. Start with the learning in mind. Yeah. Understand about learning. Understand our learners. Who are your learners? They are adult. They have life experience. They have preconception. They are autonomous learner. They are self-directed, and we want to foster the environment of mutual respect. Okay. So having this in mind, with this in mind, first thing we have to get to know the student. Okay. Before anything, you must get to know your students. Get their information. Get their demographic information. Ask them what kind of facilities they have at home. We are talking about online here. Whether they get good connection, whether they have the appropriate devices. How do they access? Is it on the phone? Is it on the laptop? What's the environment like at home? So do some survey. There are many examples of survey that you can do with your students to know about their readiness. Yeah, check their readiness for online learning. There are many sample of short survey that you can get from the internet. Just Google student readiness survey for online learning. There are plenty, and use that with your students. So understand first, get the baseline data about your students. Then after that, when they join in the course, for example, this morning I meet my first time my student for the course. They are in third semester, second year. I never met them before, so this was time. So I need to find some information about them. They are in the third semester, so I want to know how much knowledge they bring from the last 2 semesters into my course. So I want to get this baseline data, baseline information as to their readiness to take my course. So this is what we call principle number 1. How does students' prior knowledge affect their learning? So this we need to do some, get some information of their prior knowledge. How to do that? For example, my all-time favorite is Socrates. So I can design like 10 questions, get them to do. From there, you can this like this. So this is only a simple example here. So let's say there are 6 questions here. Red means wrong answer. Green means correct answer. So let's say this, if you do this with the actual group of your students, there are 10 questions that you design purposefully. The questions are to check whether they know certain aspect that necessary to prepare them to get ready for your course. So that's what prior knowledge is about. Yeah. So use tools like Socrates. Very, very easy, but very, very powerful. Okay. Okay. Now, talking about good practices for online teaching. First and foremost, it goes without saying that systematic and meticulous planning. It sounds obvious, right? But usually sometimes overlooked. So be very systematic and meticulous in your planning, because otherwise when you start the session, you will be unprepared, and that can show. Student will know whether you are well prepared or not. Yeah. Example. So this is one example, my own example. in this case, depending on your platform that you use for your online. In this case, I'm showing a platform, Schoology here. I use this previous semesters. So in Schoology, this is how I can organize my planning, my teaching, my course planning systematically. So you can see here, I group the information in a folder. So I have one folder on course information. This is where the students will find all the course information. You don't spend more than 10 minutes in online to talk about course information, the assessment, the how much is the course worth, blah blah blah. Don't waste too much time on that, because you can put everything in the written form or in the video form, in the form of video, and the students can read, the students can watch the video. You can use the time online more meaningfully by going deep into the content, engaging them in activities and so on. So put all the information that the students can read on their own in this way. Then another very important thing is to have a proper weekly lesson plan. Okay, what you want to do for each lesson, how you want to make it really student-centered. So I'll talk about it shortly. But you have the plan, exactly, and you can give the whole 14 weeks plan to the student. They can see what is going to happen during the 14 weeks. Everything is there, together with the link to download anything. Everything is there. Let them explore, let them go through, And I have one folder here, resources for each topic in the form of PowerPoint, PDF, notes, everything is here. Then I have already planned the pre-lesson activity, because I use flipped classroom. I hope you have heard about flipped classroom, and some of you probably are using flipped classroom. If you have requests to have one session on flipped classroom, please let me know in the chat, or maybe in the Q&A. Just tell me that you want to have no, not in the Q&A. Just put in the chat, or just let me know through through CDAE that you want to have one session on flipped classroom. So in flipped classroom, we can do for face-to-face as well as online. So before the class, let's say tomorrow I have a class. Yes, tomorrow I have a class tomorrow, by the way. So I've already put in the WhatsApp just now before I start this webinar to give the student the homework to prepare for tomorrow. Okay. So this is what we call pre-lesson activity, and you plan this for 14 weeks. Don't plan lesson by lesson. Yeah. Okay. Then all the learning resources needed, everything can be found in this folder. Assignment, tests, quizzes, rubrics. This is what I mean by systematic and meticulous planning. Okay. Depending on your learning platform, this can be done in many ways. Yeah. Next, in terms of good practice. Yeah. Okay. If you have any burning questions, instead of putting the Q&A just now, you can also unmute the microphone and interject anytime. Yeah. Don't worry. You can interject me anytime. If you feel you want to ask directly. Otherwise, you can put in the Q&A just now. Yeah.
Prof, can I interject? Prof, this is Raihana from CKM.
Raihana, how are you?
I'm fine, Prof. Thank you so much for this sharing session. My burning question is this. You see, you usually plan before you meet your students, right? So you know what you want to do. You've got your structured plan. Then you meet your students and you find that they have certain expectations. So how do you change your plan? Because I tend to be more organic. I tend to meet my students, and then I kind of like use their what it is that they lack or what it is that they're interested in, and then take it from there. I find that when we plan in advance, it's almost like there is this vacuum. You don't know who you're teaching. You expect them not to know much. But then, as you shared earlier, you said the first thing we do is we need to know the schema. What are some of the things they know? What are some of the things they don't know? So when you plan in advance before you meet them, what are some of the experiences that you have gone through based on that planning in advance? Then, because you've been teaching for 26 years, so I'm sure you've got a lot of these experiences. So sorry to interrupt, but I'm enjoying this session very much.
Thank you, Dr. Hannah. Yes, you are right. Still, we need to plan. But to be honest with you, to be honest with you, maybe if I take a very rough estimate of whether all my plan translate into the real thing during the class, I would say maybe 70% of the time maybe it work. I mean, it goes as planned, but maybe 30% of the time I have to kind of modify. So we need to be very flexible. We need to be very flexible. You are right, exactly right, that during the actual session, there are things that you have planned. Somehow you cannot really, do it for various reasons. So you need to modify. Sometimes when you engage students in some activities, sometimes they take longer than what you have estimated. So that takes some time. And then when you start to have discussion on that particular activity, then you realize that what is obvious to you, maybe not so obvious to the students. Then you need sometimes go back to the basic, and that kind of takes time. Then in the end, things that you have planned, you cannot really do it in that particular session. So sometimes you have to carry forward, or sometimes you have to switch that into asynchronous activity that you're supposed to do synchronously. You change that into asynchronous because you want to make sure that the students will get it. So betul lah, memang betul. I think you have experience that you know. That's why you asked that question. Very good question, Dr. Hannah. Thank you very much. Yeah. So, but still we need to plan so that when you go to the class, when you start the session, you feel very comfortable because you know what to do already. Like tomorrow, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And that actually sometimes make you feel excited. Kan? Macam tadi, before I start the session, I know, okay, I want to start showing this picture. It is kind of visualization though. I don't know, because that's the way I do things. I like to visualize. Okay, and then how would be the response of the students, and if it doesn't work, if the response is not as I expected, then maybe I need to do different thing and so on. So we need to be very flexible, in other words, and that only come with experience lah. Okay. Now, another very important thing, and this common point when I read about best practices of online, in fact for face-to-face as well, is to communicate your expectation clearly. So I try to walk my talk. So this morning when I had my class this morning, so I kata, okay, let me make it clear to you what I expect. So blah 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 blah. Then okay, now I give you the chance, the students, I give you the chance to tell me what we expect. But it seems that most of them are not prepared to tell me. So okay, I will create somewhere in the course where they can put in their expectation. So I will see what they will put there because it's only this morning. So I think it's very important because remember, the first thing that should happen in any online or face-to-face class is connection. So in order for us to connect with the students, that the line of that connection, to get that connection, is through the communication. So we must communicate everything very clearly, spell out very clearly, don't let the students to read between the lines, but rather make it very explicit and very clear. So that they don't later on, they say, dalam feedback dia kata mungkin, kita tak bagi tahu jelas lah apa learning outcome, apa yang diorang kena buat. We don't want that kind of feedback because kita dah state very clearly in the very beginning. So I cannot stress enough the importance of communicate your expectation clearly, spell out the ground rules very clearly, the ethics, the netiquettes, the everything lah kena jelas ya. For example, when in the forum, I don't want you to use Facebook language or WhatsApp language, things like that have to be laid out very clearly. The do's and the don'ts. Wah, ini contoh. Ini contoh, selain daripada communicate verbally, I write this long text. My expectation, my apa dipanggil, my aspiration, my hope, so baca nanti slide ni you all akan dapat. So tengoklah apa yang bacalah ya. Dalam tu nak copy pun boleh, word by word, permission granted. Well, of course you can do better than me. So when I say communicate your expectation, we do it verbally, we do it also in writing. Okay, so we don't leave any room for misunderstanding. Yeah. Okay, now come to expectation clear. Everything is clear. Then we are ready to start. This is basically the meat, the gist of when we go online. A lot of concern about alamak macam mana ni macam daripada face to face nak go online. The first that come to our mind, especially those who are new to online, content and delivery. Macam mana nak buat video? Itu benda yang dipikir dulu. Macam mana nak deliver online? Macam mana nak guna itu? Macam mana nak guna ini? So we need to really, make sure that this part is taken care of. So let me share a few things about this, about content and delivery. The guiding principle here, when come to content and delivery, is remember the cognitive overload. So we want to keep it simple, keep it short, keep it light. So if we remember this, simple, short, and light. So I want to show you one example, which I have shown. I showed this on Friday recently, last week. How you can be very creative in making and delivering content online in a very simple way and yet to be very effective. So I want to show again for those who have seen this. I hope you don't mind. I show you for those who are new, who have not seen this. This is actually by our lecturer from School of Education. Dia menggunakan Google Form aja. So jangan fikir, I don't want you to think that you must use state-of-the-art application, Google Form, which is free in our Google Drive. Okay, this is one lesson, 1 hour lesson. Kaedah mengajar murid masalah perkembangan bahasa. Okay, Google Form remember this Google Form. So ini some information about the course. Then dia dapatkan maklumat pelajar, nama pelajar, nombor matrix. Dia tak payah ambil attendance secara formal. Sebab di sini dah dapat dah attendance. Okay. Then arahan apa nak buat dalam lesson ini. Then content, delivering content. Okay. I would say a better way of doing this if you follow through the 9 events, the Ghanaian 9 events of instruction, Dr. Raina, Ghanaian 9 events of instruction. You can follow that step if you wish, but this one actually in Ghanaian 9 event of instruction is presenting content already, or maybe this video is first trigger something. Macam tadi kan saya kata okay, ini gambar apa, gambar wow, then just to kind of get the students to tune in to the session, start on the high notes. Okay, so the video di embed dalam Google Form ni, dia deliver the content in the form of video dalam Google Form. Then okay, lepas habis satu video ni, dia bagi activity based on that video. Okay, bagi activity based on that video. So student kena jawab. Then come the next content. Then activity, selang-seli. Activity, content, activity, content. So to answer the question just now, how do you design the student-centered learning in an online session, online course? This is how you do it. You must engage students frequently. get them to engage cognitively. Cognitive engagement in the community of inquiry just now is having this kind of activities, and this activity can be directed at the low level of Bloom, also at high level of Bloom. Yeah. So activity, then another content, then activity, then finally maybe debriefing or closure, I would say. So a simple way, 1 hour lesson can be designed by using only a Google form. I was actually amazed when I discovered this one, because we didn't teach this way, but they are given with, use a Google form in different way. I was really impressed. I was really impressed. And well, Dr. apa nama dia? Dr. lupa selalu nama dia. Low Hui Min. Dr. Low ni memang kreatif lah. Maybe are you in the session, Dr. Low? No? Okay, she's not in the session. All right, so that's what I mean by keep it simple, keep it short, keep it light. Yeah? Okay. Next, remember the community of inquiry just now? Social presence, teaching presence, cognitive presence. So on the social presence, this is where, as an instructor or as the teacher or lecturer of that class or of that course, you must always establish your virtual presence. The student must feel that they have a teacher. Although the teacher is in Penang, they are in Sarawak, online, virtual, but they know the teacher is there, the teacher is always monitoring, the teacher is always engaging, the teacher is always available for consultation. They are there to facilitate. They must feel that. So how do we create that virtual presence? By design, of course. So this is example again, my own course. This requires a lot of some sacrifice in terms of our time. Ya. Kalau dulu, ini zaman dulu, bila I started my online apa ni, I spend a lot of time answering, responding, encouraging students and so on. I remember Prof Mushtaq bila dia start dia punya MOOC sampai 2-3 pagi. And later on I realized, I don't have to do all this hard work alone kan, but I must make sure that our student will see me there, but not all the time. So I can be very selective. Then I can also get the students among them to interact. So the peer interaction, peer engagement is also very important, get them to help each other. But you can go in from time to time so that the students know that you don't forget them in between the classes. So this would require some efforts. At one time, I teach 3 courses in one semester. Maybe not all 3. 2 courses and 1 course another semester. When I teach 2 courses and have the online thing, and I do a lot of things online at that time, I was so excited. I find that I get overwhelmed. And the students also get overwhelmed. So from there, I learned to kind of tone down, but I must make sure student will feel my presence there. So macam mana nak, you kena masuk lah. Okay, yes, good reading. Then, thank you for apa ni. Then you share resources. Then you bagi apa orang kata, you bagi apa orang kata some feedback to the student. Jadi student pun seronok dia kan. If we recall the time when we were student, kalau pensyarah kita kata yes, good reading, besar hati kita kan. Kita sekarang ni macam tak rasa, tapi cuba kita reflect balik masa kita student. Rasa bangga dia kata, wow, Prof kata good reading, for them is very meaningful. Just one short sentence like that, yeah. So they feel we are there. Okay. Another thing which is related to that, principle number 3 in this book, what factors motivate students to learn? Wow, motivation is a big topic. Okay, motivation is a big topic, but something that is a big topic, but something that's always lacking. Yeah, and pay attention. Yeah, pay attention to learner engagement and motivation, because they are. Imagine the students are isolated. They are isolated in home. They only have us to kind of to engage with. So we must play that role, engagement and motivation. And this where the online community for inquiry is very important. A group of individuals who collaboratively engage and purposeful critical discourse. I've shown the slide just now, but I just repeat here to reiterate the point. Yeah. And there's one book here. Of course, the book that I share with you is the books that I have, but some is the form of ebook, so it's difficult to share, and I'm not supposed to share also. So pandai-pandai lah if you can get hold of this book. But in this book, there's one so-called double helix model of student engagement. I like this model very much. Double helix model of student engagement. So when you look at this diagram, active learning and motivation, they are intertwined. They are intertwined, meaning that you cannot have one without the other. So active learning and motivation comes together. In order to get students to learn actively, you need the elements of motivation. So these two things are intertwined. So when it comes to motivation, again, I repeat this slide. If you attended my webinar on Friday, Eric Jensen kata, there is no such thing as unmotivated student, but there are students in unmotivated state. In other words, motivation is a state. Switch on, switch off. Okay, switch on, switch off. So if you see the students are, not really responding, so you need to, then they are in an unmotivated state. So you have to do something to switch on or turn on the motivation state. Okay. So motivation to learn is very important, because motivation is a prerequisite for engagement, and engagement is a prerequisite for learning. For learning to happen, there must be engagement. For engagement to happen, you must have motivation. Students must have motivation to learn. And one of the adult learning principles is adult will learn if they have motivation to learn. Adult will learn if they see the context of what they can apply in other contexts, in their workplace and so on. So when we talk about the elements of active learning, I just run through the elements of active learning very quickly here. It must be very engaging, experiential, immersive, cognitively challenging, authentic learning experience. You can also allow create games, gamification, and so on, so the student can tinker, totter, play, have fun, self-regulated, collaborative. Yeah. So these are some of the elements which I don't want to dwell much on this one. It will take time to really go through, but just keep in mind when we talk about active learning environment, these are the different elements that we want to put together from the learning activities that we will design for them. Yeah. Okay. At this point, again, the code is wrong. Just add another 255 at the end. So if you just join in, if you want to ask me anything, go to menti.com and put the code 5587255. Yeah, 255. Let me jump to Mentimeter and see, pick one or two questions at this point. What should we do? Okay, this one I have answered just now. How we can manage the content and the student attention if we involve subject-related software, lab, and studio. Or this one, maybe subject that dealing with teaching software, maybe lab and studio. So this is actually commonly asked question if the course involve practical, amali, clinical, programming, yeah, things like that. So how we can manage the content and the student attention? Well, studio and lab, I think there's a limitation. We cannot do everything online. Any course that involve lab and studio, we still need to have we still need to have the kind of hands-on and face-to-face face-to-face session. Software, I think software to some extent, the programming you can do online. Okay? You can design. I don't know exactly how you can do that because I'm not teaching the subject, but I'm sure if you communicate with or maybe read online what is the good teaching subject, teaching software, for example, how we do that online. The practical part, the hands-on part, sometimes is not easy to do online. There's a limitation, and that's the constraint. But the theoretical part, the content, which mainly the theoretical part will, the course that has a lot of factual content, theoretical content. You want to learn concept, principles, things like that. So those can go online quite easily. But the practical kind of amali lab dan sebagainya agak susah lah, agak susah. Okay, I don't have a definite answer for this one. It's still evolving. Maybe virtual learning environment, VLE. VLE to some extent mungkin boleh buat lah untuk lab ataupun studio. VLE virtual learning environment. Itu pun mungkin ada limitation. In the end, you still want the student to touch, to feel, to touch, untuk pastikan they get the real skill. Yeah. So online virtual has some limitation there. What do you think of the 10-minute online lecture equal to 1 hour conventional teaching in the SLT? What do I think about this? Dr. Azida, are you here? Please rescue me. How do I answer this question? 10 minutes online lecture equal to 1 hour conventional teaching in the SLT. Well, it's totally possible. Totally possible. That's what I want to say. Because if you think about 1 hour lecture, how do we normally do that in the class, face-to-face? We go to the class, set up the PowerPoint, and we talk. We start talking. Yeah, we start talking. Then in between, we kind of rambling, we have blah, blah, blah. So if we take the real learning during that 1 hour lecture, very teacher-centered kind of thing, it could be just 20 minutes the most, or half an hour the most. The rest, maybe we get the students to do something, right? If you do active learning in your classroom, basically your actual lecture should be, I think, less than 20 minutes. The rest gets students to do something. Therefore, when we do online, it doesn't make much difference. That 10 minutes, you condense everything, only the essential, the essence only, the gist of that 1 hour, put it in 10 minutes. So what happened to the rest of the time? This is where we design series of activities. Then in the end, put together 10-minute lecture, 40 minutes activities plus discussion plus reflection. That would give all the content and the outcome for that particular lesson. That's the best I can answer this question. I hope this is okay. But I will actually come to, I have a few slides to talk about this also. And hopefully this will make it clearer. Yeah? All right. Please allow me to continue. Okay. Another one, remember just now the Gili-Salmon model, talking about supportive environment, community inquiry model, talking about the teaching presence. The teaching presence as well as the social presence. So in order for this to happen effectively, we need to create a supportive online course community. We want all the 100 students, in my case, I have close to 60 students in my class. We want them to feel like They are a family. They are a community. In fact, honestly, I think even in the face-to-face, this doesn't happen the way we wish, it to happen. I discovered that every semester, previously, when I check in the first class, like this morning, I check and I get one student to, okay, I said, okay, can you tell the name of the girl in the pink tudung, yang pakai tudung pink tu. This is a student that in the third semester already. You know what? They don't know. Even the small group of 50, 60 students, after the masuk third semester, they still don't know each other. That's how things are, nowadays. So what's more, online. So it's our responsibility actually to design the course in such a way so that we can create a so-called supportive online course community. Okay. So how do we do that? This is one example, yeah. So I'm just giving you some example because we don't have much time to really elaborate and deliberate on each one of these. So one way of doing this, apart from the main learning platform, whether you use your e-learning platform, whatever LMS that you are using, or other platform, I like to use social media. In this case, I create a Facebook page, bukan group. I create a Facebook page for that course. Then the students will be here also, and students like Facebook. Maybe nowadays they prefer Instagram, but they still like Facebook. So what I do, when I do some activities online, then let's say I give them a quiz before the class tomorrow. I give them Socrative. Then I open the quiz, then I find that, okay, this student, Imam Putra, he's the first student who complete the quiz. So what I do here, I create, this one I remember I create on my iPhone using the app, a short video, I think about 5 seconds. Then I put something like this: Imam Putra, student of the week. Congratulations, Imam, for being the most active student for IMK 221 this week. Keep up the good work. Learning is messy. The students really love it. They feel so proud because they are being recognized by the lecturer. And you see how the community members, the students in the course, they are kind of, supporting each other. They praise, these are the kind of how we can get and leverage on the community of learners in our course. But we have to purposely design for it. This is another example. Okay. Brian Lim, student of the month. Of course, you need to put your time to really go through, monitor which student is very active, which student is, do this and do that, and then give them this, what I call instant gratification. Yeah, this is what I call instant gratification. Try this in your class. Maybe you are doing also other creative things. Maybe you can also share with us. Yeah. So that one of the many ways to foster. It is about fostering community, the sense of community in the course. Someone is giving me a signal. Dia menguap, maknanya mengantuk lah tu. Okay, I get the message. Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, we have about half an hour. This actually until 5. But feel free if you have anything, because we are recording the session. So if you cannot wait until the end, we can always watch the recording. Yeah. Another thing, another good practice. Yeah. Try to chunk a lesson into a small kind of bite size, a small segment. Yeah. So this is what we call bite size learning, based on the concept of micro learning. And from there, micro credential. But I don't want to talk micro credential today. But bite-sized learning, we deliver the content for our lesson in the small chunk. So if you create a video, make it into a short video, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, or even 10 minutes. So this concept of learning is anything in small chunk. That's the basic premise of bite-sized learning, we call it. It makes sense to break down content into a small, manageable segments. Just like this, you can just put in the mouth, you can swallow it directly if you don't want to chew because it's so small. It's so, kind of easy to digest, easy to swallow. So basically, we are giving students a small chunk of content, a series of small chunk of content, but we must guide them so that they can put it together. So the analogy here or the metaphor here is the Lego pieces here, where we give them in a basket, and then design the activities. So when they go through the activities one by one, they will be able finally to put the Lego pieces together and come up with the complete picture, which basically the learning outcome of the particular course. I like to think it this way, putting the pieces together, connecting the dot together. Basically, that's what learning is. Learning is messy, learning is not linear, learning is about connecting dots to get students to make sense of what they learn. When they can make sense of what they learn, they should be able to apply and go higher in the cognitive, in the Bloom taxonomy. Okay. Example, what I mean by chunking the content. So for example, here this course, Canva Next Level, Become a Canva Expert. This course is on Udemy. I just bought this course for $18 semalam, because this course is strongly recommended. I want to become a Canva expert so that I can teach you. Okay, become a Canva expert. My investment. So my investment here is to, when I learn Canva, I can create my own bite-sized content easily. Okay, so you can see here there are 10 sections, 66 lectures, total 11 hour, about 12 hours, and they divide into section. If you can see here, this section has 7 lectures, total 1 hour 2 minutes. This section has 6 lectures, total 50 minutes. But when we expand each section, we can see that each section consists of several lessons, and each lesson is actually a small chunk. 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 60 minutes, 6 minutes, 1 minute, and then assessment at the end of that section. This is, ladies and gentlemen, the concept of micro-learning, the concept of chunking the content, but then, we can put together to become a complete course. Okay. Next, the good practices. Yeah. We know that online we can do in synchronous and asynchronous. Now we are doing synchronous, real time, real-time interaction, real-time discussion. But there's a limitation of synchronous. You don't expect students to stay, like what we are doing now, 2 hours almost, right? Because the next one, they would have another course. They have another course to go in one day. So we have to kind of balance between the synchronous and asynchronous learning activities. Then we design learning activities for small group and individual. Remember, we want to have more learning activities, and we can do this in a group or we can do this individually. Again, we need a balance. Some will be individually, some will be in a group. Okay. And this is what I mentioned, a few questions asking about how do we really engage the students in 1 hour or 2 hour session. Of course, I don't really do this in this particular session. I don't really walk the talk here, but in your actual course, when you conduct the session, ideally for every 1 hour session or 2 hours, even if you have strict 2 hours, you can divide that, the kick of that into 3 portions, what we call the 70-20-10 of active learning. In other words, let's say 1 hour, 70% of that 1 hour session, design activities. And these activities must be designed in such a way when the students do the activity, it serves a few purposes. When they do the activities, they will learn the content. So that's what I mean by let students uncover the content through performing the activities that we design for them. So they will uncover the content, they will learn the content. Another purpose, when they go through the activities, because we have designed the activities to align with the learning outcome for that particular lesson. So they will achieve the learning outcome by doing the activities. The third purpose, when they do the activities, they participate. They have to do. They have to perform. They have to think. They have to work in a group. So they don't just sit there and listen like what you are doing now. Okay. So it achieves many things. So if 70% of that session is activities, then the rest 20%, because we still love to give lecture, right? We still love to teach, to talk. Lecture must stop. So now you have the opportunity, 20%, to talk. Basically, this is the debriefing or the closure, where you will, discuss, okay, what the students have done in the activities just now, what they're supposed to learn, what they have supposed to learn, what they have, whether there's any misconception, you when they're having discussion, you can see some misconception there. So during this 20% is where you come in, clarify certain things, put things together, basically connecting the dots here in this 20%. And finally, 10% get students to do reflection. And the way I do reflection is by asking students to tweet using Twitter. One tweet, 140 characters to summarize the whole session. What you teach here, teach students to write in a short and concise manner, teach students to articulate. That's a very, very precious skill that you want to teach your students. Example, so synchronous, it is in the synchronous mode. So you get, and label your course for the asynchronous activity clearly. So, and have a consistent label. For example, when students see this label, meaning they have to watch a video. So, and you say activity video, give the title of the activity, how to transition into online teaching. So give them some description there and say exactly how long is the video. Then get students to watch and then they can share here. So meaning that build activities around the content. Don't just give content, but build activities around the content. So that's one of the good practices that we must do. No content is an island. Okay, no content is an island. So you must always ensure that you design activities around the content or based on the content. So you can use a lot of tools. So this is a time to pull up the tools from your toolbox. Okay, Mentimeter, Work Lab, banyak lah. Yeah, so many tools you can use. So when you give the student activity, always tell them how long they will take, estimate to complete the activities. So individual activity, 3 minutes. So this is individual activity. Okay, and give them time to. This is another example. Yeah. So this is how I present content in my course for asynchronous session. Try to make it as attractive as possible. For example, the cartoon that you see here, you see my name because it's an original cartoon that I created using the app on my iPad. It's so simple. You just drag, drop, and just change and customize. Then here, I use this icon to represent group activity. Then you put in the packet there 10 minutes. Tell them exactly what they need to do, and they can post the response down there. And you can create group activities depending on the platform that you use. In this case, I'm using Open Learning. So I create a group. Then, of course, you will be members of each group so that you can jump in and, monitor their discussion. and check whether they need your assistance. So this is where you create a so-called the teaching presence in your course based on the community of inquiry model just now, theoretical framework. Okay. Some of you probably in the session here can see your face here. So this is example of their discussion and their response to the activity that you created. Remember the Google form just now, Dr. Low Hui Min. So she's one of the active lecturers, very creative. Yeah. So the last part here, I have another 5 minutes. Prepare discussion posts that invite responses, question, discussion, and reflections. Use tools like apa ni panggil ni, Flipgrid. Yeah. This one boleh guna video. Ask the student, remember the 70, 20, 10. 70, 20, 10. The 10% of the last part is reflection. So this is where give students time to do reflection. Kalau dulu kita guna 1 minute paper, 2 minutes paper, right? Paper no more. Now we use digital. So we can use tools like Flipgrid and some other tools that you might probably come across that can do reflection. But Flipgrid is very interesting. One in 1.5 minutes or 2.5 minutes. Again, 2.5 minutes reflection, that's enough. Just like 2 minutes paper, no? 2.5 page paper. No, 2.5 minutes paper. We want to train them to articulate and do the reflection, the summary, in only 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. The more they do it, the more they will sharpen and hone their kind of articulation skill. Yeah. Design some learning activities for cognitive engagement. So these again the good practices. Yeah. When we design learning activities, we can design some for very basic, low level cognitive, and some for the high level cognitive. Have a mix of this. Okay? You don't want to design all the time HOTS, all the time LOTS, but have a mix of this. Again, you judge, the balance between LOTS and the HOTS. Because, when we design the learning activities, we want to design at various levels of cognitive domain, and we want design the activities individually or in group. Kalau kita design in group, we want them to have interaction and engagement, and then finally, from there, they will create something tangible. Yeah. So when they create something tangible, meaning that this already at the top level of Bloom taxonomy. Debate is one example of HOTS activity, and I've shown last week. Oh, this one there was with UPM group. I showed how we can do online debate. Yeah, but I don't have time to show it now. But by using Mentimeter, by using Mentimeter, divide into groups. Then one group will take the sokong, one group will take the membangkang, then give them the time to read the article and so on. Then after that, they will discuss. Then after that, one group will post their points on yang menyokong, another point yang membangkang, dan later on they can change their role as well. Very, 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 very engaging, debate online. TEDx. Okay, by the way, I'm going to conduct one session on Friday. I will talk about tools. I will zoom into tools. I will show you step by step how to set up, for example, here. This morning I showed to my clique. Hi, hello, boy, girl. Okay. Hello, baby. Okay. This is actually very, very interesting. TEDx. Maybe you can explore first. Free tools, but this is how you can engage students and design so-called HOTS activity and design the student engagement with the content. This is what we call student engagement of student with content. Yeah, get them to go deeper into the content. Okay, so take home points. After this, I will take some questions from the Q&A, and maybe you can also unmute the microphone. But take home points: be a learner first. Remember, before you teach online, before you qualify to teach online, you must be a learner, take a few courses online, and experience from the learner's point of view. Teach your students to be self-directed learners, self-regulated as well. Be mindful of cognitive overload. Rethink your instructional strategy. Keep it simple. Keeping learners' interest using appropriate tools of technology. Connect, engage, inspire. Balance the synchronous and asynchronous session. And as usual, I always believe that we should continue to learn. Don't stop learning. Learn the tricks of the trade. Learn the tools of the trade. Have your own toolbox. And stay humble. So with that, stay safe. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And stay strong from me. I'm telling myself as well, stay strong, Karim. You need to be strong. And this is the only slide that you want to take a picture now. On the count of 3, if you don't take a picture now, this will disappear. 3, 2, 1. Okay, what you have here is the link to download all the 81 PowerPoint slides here. Then this link, I give you a very comprehensive online course that I created, how to transform your class into an online course. The third link is the one-stop. This is actually my MOOC, Engaging Online Learners. The fourth one is one-stop resource center. If you want to get to teach online, you want to know just about anything that you want to know, come to this resource center. Hopefully you will find the resource there. This is still very early stage, still work in progress. So bookmark this page. From time to time, when you come back, you will see the page will be different. Resource will be added. New resource will be added. And if you are new to online teaching, you want to create video for your teaching content, look no further. Just study this module that I have created, DIY instructional video. Okay, that should be enough. Yeah. The only thing, I'm giving away all this content. I just, hope you can dua for me, so that I stay healthy, so that I can share more, create more for academics. So I want to jump to the Q&A. We have a few more minutes, maybe. I will stop exactly by 5.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, ya. Dr. Muhaizam, you are here again. Thank you very much. You are very good. Dr. Muhaizam, sorry, aku tak sempat nak jawab you punya soalan masa kat UPM punya ni.
Okay. My question is concerned about group punya setting lah. I mean, students always complain during online learning, they feel very stressful. And then when we want students to do activity online secara group, diorang lagi stress because diorang tak dapat jumpa kawan-kawan yang dalam group diorang. So if we focus too much of group activity, which they cannot meet and discuss effectively, they have to use data. Kalau data pun limited kan. So macam mana we actually want to have learning happen but in a group setting, which will be acceptable lah. Tak nak diorang jadi stress dalam group activity. Thank you, Prof.
Yeah, you see, I mentioned about students need to adapt to a new learning environment. Still, I believe it is still early days. Students are still adapting, I think. They are still adapting. All this while, we take for granted that when we go online, a student would not have problem because they are basically live their life online. But that's not true. They perhaps spend a lot of time on Instagram, on playing games, but not when come to learning, they are still new. They are still very novice. So they are still adapting, I believe. So I think when they face this problem, or maybe when they raise this issue, maybe we need to just like father to son kind of talk. We need to advise them that they have to learn to adapt to the new learning environment. They have to learn to change, from face-to-face discussion because of the situation now, and get used to discuss online. So they have to get used to that kind of new way of doing discussion online in a group. So that's one. Another one, maybe if they feel they are too overwhelmed with group activities, we need to find exactly what make them overwhelmed. As you mentioned just now, they cannot have that direct discussion with the friends. But since we don't have much choice, we still want to encourage them to work collaboratively online. So maybe we need to look at how can we do this group discussion or group work in many different ways. So I think we need to explore more on this group collaborative work, a collaborative online collaborative group work, or online group work. So if we just do it one way, so maybe we want to consider do it another way, but still group work. So I cannot give you a very specific example now. Maybe we need one session just focus on how do we conduct group work online in the best possible way, addressing those issues that you mentioned just now. I think we need to explore lah on that, ya. Kalau yang cara ini maybe dia orang rasa tak sesuai, maybe we need to find another way of doing group work online. Ya. Boleh ya, Dr. Muazzam ya?
Boleh, Prof. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. So, anyone you are welcome to ask question if you want to unmute the microphone. But before that, let me check other question here. How to deal with students that expect lecturers to spoon feed them? How to deal with students that expect lecturers to spoon feed them? Again, back to how do we kind of change the mindset. Remember, I have one slide, changing the mindset. When I say changing the mindset, it's actually both. We as the lecturers and the students, both mindset need to change. The paradigm need to change when we do this online. On the student side, if they expect the lecturers to spoon feed them, just like in the face-to-face environment, if they expect us to spoon feed them, then we have to kind of explain, make them understand things has changed. They are adult learners. They are not, they don't expect we feed them everything. They will learn through the activities that we design to them, for them, as long as they participate, as long as they put their mind and their effort doing the activities, they will be able to learn, in stages, slowly. So I think need explanation. The father and daughter talk, explain it from time to time. We have to do this continuously. We cannot give up. Yeah, I'm telling myself also. Sometimes I feel like giving up also because there are situations and certain time that students are just, but then we have to continue doing that role lah. Yeah. Okay. What are the big challenges for online tests and exam? Again, when come to test and exam is the integrity part, right? There's a lot of concern whether we can trust the students. There's no definite answer. There's no easy and definite answer for this. That's why as much as we can, in USM, we try to reduce the high-stake assessment, the high-stake exam, because exam, to me, would drive students to be especially those who really want to get the best grade. So they compromise the integrity. They compromise the integrity, ethics and integrity, because they want to make sure that they won't get anything less than 4 or anything less than 3.9 or 3.8. So therefore, first, I think we have to learn to trust our students more. That is one. Then we have to continue to educate our students through various means. Sometimes as simple as sharing the quotes in the WhatsApp group with your students. Talk about integrity. Integrity is not doing things even nobody is looking at you. Quote yang macam itu. That is our small efforts to continue propound the propound the ideas and the lessons about integrity and so on to our students lah. Of course, try to reduce the high stake exam and test. Do for more of multiple formative assessment maybe. If we still want to do the exam and the test, then we have to do it maybe more on the open book test. Even if they Google, they cannot find the answers, things like that. This is still evolving. We are still finding the best way to do online tests and exam without compromising the quality and also the integrity. So this is the evolving field and research also in this aspect. Yeah, I cannot give you the best answer for this one. There are still many issues that we need to address. Yeah. In this challenging situation, not all students are fortunate. Yes, that's right. Some are depressed. Should we worry about the mental state of the student? Yes, we should. We should. That's why this morning I reminded my students about their well-being. So we told them that we are very concerned. We care about your well-being. So please communicate with us if we feel that we are giving you too much. We're expecting too much. That's why the expectation tu kita kena jelaskan betul-betul dulu ya. And allow them the freedom. Tell them feel free to tell us if you are not, if you feel that this become too much, you get overwhelmed, you get stressful, please tell us. No. So we want to make sure we care for your well-being. So we need to constantly communicate with them and let them know that we care. Yeah. Which one is better? Model 70, 20, 10 or 3, 33? Can someone clarify if the person still here? What do you mean by 3, 33? I never heard of 3, 33. Can someone who asked this question to clarify? To be honest, I've never heard 3, 33. Who asked this question? If you like to clarify a little bit. No? Okay, otherwise, since I don't know what is 333, or if someone knows what is 333, can help me. But this 70, 20, 10 is something that I coined, yeah? There is something called 70, 20, 10 learning model. But that actually in the context of, we talk about 10% formal learning, 20% peer learning, 70% experiential learning. But my 70, 20, 10 is about how I divide the cake of the 1 hour session, which to me makes sense. Unless if you have other views on this, please share with us. Yeah, feel free to share with us. This is not something that must follow, but to me, it makes sense to have this kind of 70% activities, 20% debriefing by the lecturer, by the teacher, and 10% reflection by the students. Okay. When you plan, do you focus on the task, the learning outcome, or the topic for the week? Well, to me, we can work on the topic, but that topic probably I need to spread over like 2 or 3 lessons. But for each lesson, when I design that 1 hour lessons, the focus would be always be guided by the outcome, then work backward. So this is called backward design. The outcome are clear. So what would be the assessment that would tell me the outcome has been achieved, and what would be the activities that I need to do to align with the learning outcomes. So the constructive alignment is always there. Yeah. Okay. She's very happy. Alhamdulillah. Okay. So the constructive alignment is always there. Yeah. How to ensure student integrity when doing the test? Oh, let me check. It's my watch. Oh, okay. So I guess I will answer the last questions, and I will end the session here. How to ensure student integrity when doing the test online? Partly I have answered this. There is no way we can ensure student integrity. It's between them and the God and God. Okay, I don't think we can, and I probably don't want to spend too much time to think about what they actually do behind the scene, things like that. I would rather focus on other things. But again, the least we can do is to always remind them that integrity, you can graduate with 4.0, but you know that your 4.0 is achieved through, total integrity, or through cheating and, compromising your integrity. Tell them like that. So hopefully they get the message to their heart, to their mind, and the rest, I think we just have to trust them and doing whatever we can. For example, doing open test book, things like that. So with that, thank you very, very much for those who joined this session from USM and from far, from other places. Thank you so much, and we will share the recording of this through the Facebook, through the Aspiring Young Academic Facebook. If you are not there, please join the Aspiring Young Academic Facebook, because I'll be sharing all the resources, the link, the recording, the announcement for the webinar, everything in that website. So to ensure that you don't miss, yeah, because we'll be doing a series of the general one like today, the more focused one on the specific application, specific strategy. So this is a new round of engagement to help our lecturers to be competent and to be comfortable teaching online. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for spending your precious time. I hope I have given value to your every second that you spend with me in this session. If I have any, if I don't achieve your expectation for my shortcoming, so please, maafkan saya sebagai jika ada sebarang kekurangan on my side. So that's all for now. Have a nice day, and see you again in other sessions. So saya sudahi dengan wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, dan selamat sore kepada semua.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih banyak Prof.
Terima kasih Dr. Muhaizam, rajin join daripada UUM ya. Nanti boleh share kalau ada recording, nanti tolong share lah dengan semua staff UUM juga ya. Yeah, alright. So bye bye.